Hi there. In this lecture, Berg is playing against Mikhail Tal in 1951 Riga Championship. We see the English opening. Now, Mikhail Tal aims for a reverse Maroczy bind. For a long time, the Maroczy bind was thought to be very, very good to have, almost constituting a winning position. And you can actually play for a reverse Maroczy bind in this variation after knight f3, fixing the c4 pawn, so symmetrical, but now breaking the symmetry after knight c3 with d5. This is a very, very interesting variation, which actually my good friend Alex Aphilontis recommended to me. It does create an interesting bind, and it's also a system of Mikhail Botvinnik as well, to get this kind of bind in reverse after knight c6, bishop g2. The knight goes to c7, and quite often the knight is protecting a8. So sometimes the tactics which you might think would backfire, they don't as easily as all that, because the knight is actually securing the rook here. So black is establishing a bind on the d4 square. This is a very interesting system against the English opening. d3, e5, and we have this bind on the d4 pawn, but also b4. You can see if black can reinforce this bind, it can be quite unpleasant for white. We see b3, black castles, bishop b2, and now f6, just putting a rock against the b2 bishop as well. So we see rook c1, bishop e6, e3, and now e3 does prompt an idea that actually is white's plan that convincing here to play for d4. We see knight d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, and now d4. Now Tal just basically isolates white's queen's pawn by taking, and now plays e4. It looks as though this bishop has been locked in, and also this bishop is going to be locked in. Knight d2, f5. So positionally, it seems as though white is actually being outplayed here. Furthermore, this dark square bishop compared to this one does have an interesting diagonal here in this position. It looks as though white's configuration is slightly awkward and prone potentially to bishop g5 being effective. There's a lurking relative pin, you could say, here. So this looks to be an ideal position to have with the black pieces, even though the bind has kind of transformed into something else. What it has transformed into here is very pleasant. We see f3. If a3, black can actually use bishop g5. For example, this situation is very pleasant for queen e8 and the bishop dropping back. And there's pressure on the d4 pawn potentially. This seems to be a very, very nice position. And black even potentially can play for f4 like this. This is just a fictional scenario, just to illustrate. And, maybe an attack like this later. This is just a purely fictional scenario, but it just shows that black could actually transform this into a big attack potential. For example, like this. This is just a fictional continuation. So anyway, f3 was played though. We do see bishop g5. F takes e4. Now here, if f4, that's just miserable, giving white big problems. That's a protected passed pawn, and it's not that easy to blockade it. So bishop f6, there's pressure on d4. This would be great for black. Black can even try for stuff like this, taking on a2, taking on c1. There's tactics. It's just there's a lot of good opportunities there. So anyway, f takes e4 was played. F takes e4, and because of that relative pin lurking, it's difficult for white now. This is a really dangerous position, especially with this bishop locked in behind its own pawn. We have rook takes, queen takes, slightly improving black's queen position. It's ready to get into f2 on occasion with bishop e3 now and queen f2. We see rook c5. If bishop takes e4 here as an example, bishop e3 check, queen f2 check, and this is just annihilation of white. The king is actually in big trouble or losing material or both. So that's just annihilation. So we have rook c5. Now bishop e3 check, king h1, rook d8, knight c4, and now, yeah, interesting decision point. So hitting the bishop on e3, Tal actually just takes that, and here there's a very nice tactical move, serving positional plans. What would you play with black here if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video? Okay, knight e5. Yeah, we're using that pin, and we're trying to get into d3. So this was taken. If this makes things worse, actually, bishop takes e4, rook c2, not losing an exchange, knight d3. This leads to a situation where I know it would be terrifying for white to consider this, but it looks as though, okay, black might not be doing that much damage, but black still has a big advantage here. This is potentially, you know, going to be a winning position for black. So, but this kind of hastens to the end. It makes things a lot worse than they need to be, losing the exchange here. So Tal actually just takes that and plays queen f2, and white's position is really miserable here. The queen is tied down because of queen g1 or queen f1 checkmating, and the bishop's attacked, and not only that, d4's attacked. So white actually resigned here. If bishop c3, then bishop takes d4. This situation is just winning material. For example, rook e8. Even if it's not winning a bishop, it's going to be winning material eventually. Black is the exchange up, and there's no king safety issue to compensate. Exchange and yeah, it's just going to be absolutely winning soon. For example, taking out a4 soon, or one of the pawns. Things are going to start dropping off. The exchange up. So anyway, I'll take you to the end of game position with queen f2. For me, actually, it shows a very comfortable system to play against the English opening, a reviser, actually, for me, because I have played this system in the past, and it's worth checking it out if you need a system against the English opening. It's kind of hiding in plain sight because you might think it's so boring to play symmetrically, but actually you're not. You're pretending to play symmetrically. You're not playing knight c6. It's here. You're varying the symmetry. You're taking the opportunity to change the pawn structure and try and navigate it into essentially a reverse Maroczy bind pawn structure. If you check out my pawn structure courses, there is pros and cons of different pawn structures. But the Maroczy bind, yes, it was thought to be great for a number of years, but there are ways of playing against it. But white's plan in this game was a bit lame. It was a bit wet lettuce. It was ineffectual, it seems. The transformation here is just in black's favour. This position, it's the locking in of the bishops. It's not that convincing, white's plans, basically, in this position. Okay, so yeah, black had a really comfortable game, especially after bishop g5. So yeah, we're learning about Tal's openings as well in this course. They stand the test of the time, a lot of these systems. And they originate, you know, from Botvinnik research quite often. This does seem to be a classic Mikhail Botvinnik antidote to the English opening as well, to try and establish an early Maroczy bind. So I hope you enjoyed that, and you know, look at configuration points of interest in the opponent's position, like relative pins. Try and pick up on those and how you can use bishops maybe to torture the opponent and make inroads into the position. Okay, thanks so much. Hi there, thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page, so Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.